One of my favorite episodes of The Sopranos has always been the finale, Made in America. The way the finale episode is shot and the characters are framed and the way it's edited creates a sense of dread. Like everything's closing in around Tony. He's not sure which way or where the end is going to come from. Is it going to be he's going to get arrested? Is someone going to pop through the door and shoot him? We don't know. Tony doesn't know either. And the editing, the filming, and the way things are framed really conveys the darkness and the tension that's going on in this episode. And as someone with professional editing experience, I want to break down some of my favorite little cinematography and editing techniques going on throughout the episode. And I also want to share some of my little observations and random thoughts about this episode for fun. So, enough of me blabbing, let's get into it. So when we're talking about cinematography and how to frame up characters in your shot, there's different types of shots. There's the single shot, the double shot, the close-up, medium shot. And what I want to talk about is a long shot, which is the camera's farther away and you can see their full body. They do a certain type of long shot that really creates this ominous feeling. Take a look at a shot like this, where Tony and Carmela are eating after Bobby's funeral. It shows them separate from everyone else. Tony's not even facing the camera, and the camera's just a little askew. You can tell the wall's not parallel to the edges of the frame, so something's a little off. All these are done to help convey the idea that this is the end. They have a really cold atmosphere to all these shots. This one's not as cold, but it's a similar type of framing. And if you look down at the carpet, it's also not parallel to the edge of the frame. It's a little off-kilter, creates a sense of uneasiness. And again, there's that vignette kind of pushing in on them. Take a look at the shot where Tony walks over to Junior. They took all the life out of it. It's just gray and blue and dark. Check out this other shot of Tony in the safe house, or when he talks to Janice, or when they're having the secret mafia meeting in the warehouse, when Tony's meeting with Meadow. These aren't done on accident. Notice the way this is framed. So it's like there's the chairs and there's that ledge, whatever that is. It makes him seem really far away. And they angled it in such a way too, so that that sign outside is pointing right down at him. It helps draw you right at Tony. Besides the fact that they have a very cold atmosphere, is that they position Tony next to things that are bigger than him, and it makes him feel smaller and more distant. Check out some of these shots, like this one where Tony's next to the painting, or this one where you can see the two windows in his house are much bigger than him, or this one there's the windows and the fireplace. Here's that big security guard is in the corner. I don't know if that one counts. I like the one with him and Paulie talking because this one looks especially dark to me. The way the top is almost black, and they angled this table to make them seem really far away. The Satriali's one, the store itself is much larger, making themselves seem small. And in the diner, behind Tony is that picture of that high school. So another important thing about cinematography is not just how the camera is in relation to the actors, but how the actors are in relation to the scene and what's physically around them in the space. One of the things I noticed in this episode is they often frame Tony in a box, like between things. These shots were meticulously planned out, so they mean something. This isn't on accident. Notice here at the beginning when Tony wakes up, he's framed right between that door. And his gun is also right in the middle of those two hanger things. Don't know if that means anything, but it just adds to the shot. The shot of Tony outside, look at how symmetrical that is. He's right between those two trees. That was not on accident. Also, when Tony's in the safe house talking to AJ, there he is kind of wedged between that door frame and the wall. When Tony visits Syl in the hospital, you see him again between the door. Tony's in the safe house. He's kind of situated right between that window. Talking to Paulie on the phone, he's between the frames of the picture. When he's talking to the new psychiatrist, he's right in the middle of that window. When he's talking with Paulie outside Satriali's, they're right in the middle of that big window. Again, at the diner at the very end, when that guy goes into the bathroom, Tony's situated right between the frame of the door. So it kind of creates a connection between Tony and the members only guy. When you frame a character like this, it's often when something bad is happening. It creates a sense of tension and unease, almost like the walls are closing in on them, or like he's in a jail cell, or like he's in a coffin, like he died, like he's in a box. This isn't the only time in the show they've done this, and this isn't the only character they've done this to. Like I was looking Just at the previous episode, I noticed they did this to Dr. Melfi too. And this is the last shot in the scene where she's reading through that journal and finds out that Tony is a sociopath. Once again, this is used to convey a sense of anxiety and unease. She's worried that she just helped enable the sociopath through the past 6 years. So these aren't really used for happy, warm, open feelings that the characters are having. These are used to create tension. One of my favorite directors, Stanley Kubrick, is known for something called the Kubrick stare, which is when his characters look down and their eyes look up and their brows are kind of like this. I hope I'm doing it right, but it's kind of like that. And it makes it seem like the characters are going mad or losing their minds. There's something else Kubrick did, which I want to coin the Kubrick Cut, because it's a certain type of edit that also creates a sense of unease. So at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey, we'll see the camera close-up of the astronaut looking off like he's looking at something. Camera cuts, and what we're seeing is himself out there. So it gives you this feeling of like he's looking at himself. I don't remember where I heard this. It was probably an interview with David Chase or something. But that first shot when Tony walks into the diner at the end, that was supposed to be a direct reference to the end of 2001: Space Odyssey, those shots I just showed you, which is why I'm calling this the Kubrick Cut. Tony walks into the diner, scans the place, sees everyone there, and then it cuts back to him. We see a close-up of him. Then it cuts back, and he's out there, already in the seat. It stands out because most of the rest of the show is again shot in a rather plain, real-world style. If this was any other episode, we would probably see Tony walking out to the seat and sitting down. I was scanning through the episode and noticed a few others. When Tony goes to see Junior for the last time, we see him looking out at the room. It's empty. Cuts back to him, closer. Then he looks out. He's already there walking to Junior. He's already more than halfway up the room. He's just there, kind of like at the diner. Another example I found is when Tony goes to meet with Silvio for the last time. He's in the hospital, he sees Sil, close up of Sil, and we cut right back to Tony sitting down already. We didn't see him walk over and sit down. And you could say, yeah, this is editing, it's cutting out chunks to show us the passage of time to help with the flow of the episode. Yes, it serves that purpose as well. But when you put these back to back, you notice a pattern. And you can see they were trying to go for something. Another running motif throughout the finale episode is this sense of waiting for something to happen impatiently. Like we want it to happen already. The most famous example of this is in the diner scene again, when Meadow is trying to parallel park her car for like half that entire scene, and then she finally walks in right before it cuts to black. Some other moments like that in the episode I've noticed, where one is right at the beginning when Tony's waiting with Paulie for the FBI agent to show up. Paulie remarks on how long they've been waiting.
Half an hour, he says. It's a fucking hour and a half already.
He's busy. Enjoy the music.
Speaking of Paulie, another example is when Tony is trying to offer Paulie the Cifaretto construction crew, and Paulie's anxious about taking it because so many people have died leading that crew, but it does create the sense of, will he? Won't he? Why won't he do it? Another example of this is when Tony's talking to his lawyer in the back of the Bing. For a good minute or so, he's trying to get the ketchup out of the bottle, and eventually Tony grows impatient, just grabs it from him and slams the thing down. You know, it's like him trying to get the ketchup out of the bottle is like Meadow trying to park that car, or the FBI guy just not showing up. They're waiting for him. Or will Paulie take the thing or won't he? Another running theme throughout the finale is doors. Opening doors. Who's going to come through the door? We don't know. Obviously, again, the most famous example of this is in the diner scene at the end, where there is a whole bunch of people that come through the door. We hear the ding. Tony looks up. We see who it is. Each time we're like, oh, who's coming? Who's coming? We don't know if this is going to be the next person who's going to come in and shoot him or not. Other examples of the door motif I've noticed where there's actually one in the previous episode, and we get this shot of the door with this really creepy music playing. It's just zooming in on the door. It may not seem that crazy, but also keep in mind, there's not many other moments in the show like this that are that stylized. When Tony's walking into the safe house, we get a shot of him approaching the door. And the way it zooms into the door also gives me a sense of unease, just like in the Blue Comet episode. When you put them back to back, they look similar. Might be thinking too much about that one, but who knows. There's also another door moment when Tony's waiting in the safe house and this guy walks in, no one's expecting him, and they draw their guns on him. In the back of Satriali's Paulie was about to whack that orange cat with a broom when Tony walks through the door and interrupts him. When Tony's at the new psychiatrist's office, he's talking to her, and then Carmela bursts in because she was late. She had to go to the bathroom. Kind of like Meadow being late for the diner at the end. Now I want to point out some fun, interesting little things and random thoughts I had about this episode while I was preparing this video and editing all this together. Check them out. Look at the size of that Christmas wreath behind that guy in the safe house. That thing is huge. Also, speaking of the safe house scene, this guy farts twice in that scene. It's kind of funny. I boosted the audio so you can hear it.
Give me first dibs at this,
When Paulie's calling Tony in the Bada Bing, I'm pretty sure his ringtone is Cecilia by Simon & Garfunkel. Celia, you're breaking my heart. Speaking of the scene where Paulie's at the Bing talking to Tony on his cell phone, notice the way this is panning around Paulie. We clearly see in the neon sign it says men's room. Like in the Godfather scene where the guy goes to get the gun, comes out and shoots him, and just like that members only guy goes to the men's room. Just a little hint, just a little flavor, a little sprinkle of cinematography foreshadowing in there. Love that stuff. When Tony visits Silvio in the hospital for the last time and sits down, it's framed in such a way that the tubes coming out of Silvio lead right into the machine that's behind Tony, and it kind of looks like the two characters here are connected. The way the tubes are going to that machine right behind Tony looks like they're going into Tony himself. This could be the same fate that Tony's going to suffer, that he's going to get shot and end up in a coma. When Tony's talking to his lawyer, they do two specific and intentional cuts up to the CCTV security camera in the Bing, where you see the two strippers doing something. They do it twice. One time, there's one stripper, looks like she's running away in a hurry. She didn't even get dressed, she's pulling her robe on. And then the second time, it looks like someone's sitting down and someone comes out to talk to her or comfort her. What's going on? I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to know. The ambiguity is part of the whole episode and part of the show. When you put the ending of The Blue Comet and the intro of Made in America back together, Tony goes to sleep in that safe house bedroom, wakes up, he has different clothes on, and the bed is made. And it looks like there's stuff in the room. Different ways to interpret this. I've seen some YouTube videos and other theories thinking that, well, Tony actually died, someone came and shot him in his sleep, and this is just a dream sequence. We don't know how much time has passed between the Blue Comet and Made in America. He could have made the bed in that time period. It looks like there's an empty bottle of beer there, so, maybe they're hanging out there. Who knows? Another thing that has people making theories about the finale episode is Paulie's odd behavior. When you look at the shot of Paulie and Patsy talking in the Bing,
It'll be fine.
Paulie, those guys are outside.
Fuck you talking so loud for? Don't discuss this until we're in the kitchen door.
It's all yours.
seems kind of suspicious. He has a different tone of voice when he's talking to the baseball cap guy. I don't know his name. Does anybody know that character's name? For various reasons of their own, both of these characters could want Tony dead. Very suspicious. And when you add to that the Made in America scene when Tony's trying to give Paulie the Cifaretto crew, look at the shot of Tony. He's like, why in the world did you refuse this? What's going on? And then there's this shot of Paulie that I love because I don't know what it means. It just creates tension. He walks out. He does not look okay. When he finally accepts the offer that Tony's making, Tony gives him a pat on the back and walks away. Paulie once again looks nervous and uneasy. You could say this is just because of his superstition, because everyone else who headed that crew died, and now it's his, and he's worried about dying. The other way of looking at this is that Paulie is nervous because he has plans in motion, perhaps with Patsy, to have Tony killed. We don't know. The cover of the song You Just Keep Me Hanging On by the band Vanilla Fudge plays 3 times throughout the episode. That's not an accident. They did this for a reason. Even the title of the song, You Keep Me Hanging On, it kept all of us hanging on, the finale. We never know what happened. So the first time we see it is in the very beginning when Tony wakes up, and people have said this is nothing new, that it sounds like funeral organs and it looks like Tony's in a coffin. The next time we see it is when Tony's driving up to the safe house. This is a really intense part of the song. And then probably the most important yet hardest to hear use of the song is that it's playing in the background of the scene where Phil gets whacked.
Help me, please! Help! Somebody help me!
Okay.
Help me, please! Oh God, they're locked in there!
It's kind of hard to hear, but it's behind all the sound effects and dialogue and screaming and head squishing and the oh shit guy and all that. The reason they would do this, play this 3 times throughout, is to thematically link those scenes. Obviously, the song has something to do with death and danger. So when I was putting this video together and doing some research for all this, I thought that gas station looked very familiar. So I went online and looked up where the actual location was, and then I saw it and I said, oh my God, I've been there. I've gotten gas there plenty of times. That used to be right around the corner from a place I worked. It's right off this highway in New Jersey, right in Tony Soprano territory. In the show, it's supposed to be in Long Island because that's where Phil was hiding out. But I guess, for whatever reason, they shot it here. Either way, in the description of this video, I'll include the link on Google Maps Street View so you can see this place where it is in real life. Well, if you've made it this far, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed this. And I